Captain Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on the main screen. After 3 months of travel through deep space, they had finally reached their destination. Her heart raced with excitement and nervousness. This was it, humanity's first contact with an alien species. Distance to target 2 million kilometers and closing, announced navigator Paul Kim from his station. The bridge crew worked quietly around her, checking systems and preparing for the most important moment in human history. Dr. Kevin Murphy, the team's language expert, looked up from his console with bright eyes. "Captain, I'm receiving their welcome signal again. Same pattern as before. Mathematical sequences, star charts, and what sounds like music." Lisa smiled. 3 months ago, Earth had received strange signals from this distant world. The messages were clearly made by intelligent beings, and they seemed friendly. After weeks of careful study, Dr. Murphy and his team had figured out where the signals came from and how to respond. The aliens had even sent them directions to their home planet. "Any signs of weapons or military ships?" Lisa asked her science officer, Dr. Ben Torres. "Nothing at all, Captain," Ben replied, studying his readings. "I'm detecting several large structures floating above the ocean surface, but they don't show any weapon signatures. Their technology seems focused on peaceful purposes." Lisa nodded. That matched everything they had learned about these beings. The aliens called themselves the Valdari, and every message they sent suggested they were a peaceful people who loved science, art, and learning. "Captain," called communications officer Jenny Walsh, "we're getting a new transmission. It's much clearer now that we're closer." "Put it on speakers," Lisa ordered. A beautiful musical sound filled the bridge. It was unlike any human language, with flowing tones that seemed to dance in the air. Even though they couldn't understand the words, everyone felt the warmth and welcome in the voice. Dr. Murphy typed rapidly on his computer. "Based on the patterns we studied, I believe they're giving us permission to approach their world. They're also sending coordinates for a meeting location." Lisa felt a surge of pride in her crew. The Terra Nova was a civilian research ship, not a military vessel. Everyone on board was a scientist, diplomat, or explorer. Earth Command had chosen them carefully for this mission because they believed peaceful contact required peaceful people. "Take us to those coordinates, Paul," Lisa commanded, nice and slow. "We want to show them we come in peace." As they approached the alien world, the crew gathered at the windows to see their first alien city. It was breathtaking. Massive crystal structures floated above purple oceans, connected by graceful bridges that seemed to be made of light itself. Ships moved between the floating buildings without making any sound. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Torres. "Look how they've built their cities to work with the ocean, not against it. There's no pollution, no damage to the environment." Commander Amy Phillips, their diplomatic officer, joined Lisa at the main screen. "Captain, this is exactly what we hoped for. A peaceful, advanced civilization that takes care of their world." 2 hours later, they received permission to dock at one of the floating platforms. Lisa chose a small team to make first contact. Herself, Commander Phillips, Dr. Murphy, and 2 security guards with no weapons. They wore their best uniforms and carried gifts from Earth, music, art, and samples of human culture. The airlock opened, and they stepped onto the alien platform. The air was warm and smelled like flowers mixed with ocean breeze. Waiting for them was the most graceful being Lisa had ever seen. The alien was tall and slender, with blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the light. It had 6 arms that moved like dancers and large, kind eyes that seemed full of wisdom. It wore flowing robes that changed color as it moved. "I am Zethara," the being said in perfect, if somewhat musical English. "I serve as voice between peoples for my world. We welcome the humans to our home." Lisa stepped forward carefully. "I am Captain Lisa Carter of the ship Terra Nova. We come from the planet Earth, and we're honored to meet you." Zethara's face showed what could only be a smile. "Your people's messages brought joy to our world. We have waited long to meet others who reach for the stars with open hands instead of closed fists." Over the next several hours, the first meeting went better than anyone had dared hope. Zethara showed them through the floating city, explaining how the Valdari used gravity control to build homes that floated on air. They had learned to live without harming their world, taking only what they needed and giving back more than they took. Dr. Murphy was amazed by their language skills. "How did you learn our language so quickly?" he asked. "We studied your transmissions for many cycles," Zathara explained. "Your people speak in patterns that show great emotion and creativity. We found beauty in your words even when we did not understand them. The Valdari showed them incredible technology. Machines that could clean polluted water instantly, energy sources that never ran out, and ships that could travel between stars without burning fuel. But everything was designed for peaceful purposes. They seem to have no weapons at all. We have lived in peace for over 2,000 years, Zathara told them as they walked through gardens that grew in midair. We learned long ago that creation brings more joy than destruction. Commander Phillips could barely contain her excitement. Captain, imagine what we could learn from them. Clean energy, environmental restoration, space travel technology. They could help us fix so many of Earth's problems. That evening, the human team returned to the Terra Nova for their first report to Earth Command. Lisa sat in her ready room, writing the most important message of her career. Earth Command, this is Captain Carter reporting on first contact with the Valdari species. Contact established successfully. The Valdari are peaceful, highly advanced, and eager to share knowledge with humanity. They possess technology that could revolutionize our civilization, particularly in clean energy and environmental restoration. Request permission to establish formal diplomatic relations and begin cultural exchange programs. She paused, looking out her window at the beautiful alien city floating in the distance. Lights twinkled like stars among the crystal buildings, and she could see Valdari ships moving gracefully through the air. Personal note, she added, this is exactly what we hoped first contact would be. Two species meeting in friendship, ready to learn from each other and build a better future together. I believe this marks the beginning of a new age for humanity. Lisa sent the message toward Earth and settled in for the 3-day wait for a response. She fell asleep that night dreaming of the wonders that lay ahead, never imagining that her peaceful first contact was about to become a nightmare. 2 weeks had passed since first contact, and everything was going perfectly. Captain Lisa Carter woke each morning excited about the new discoveries her team was making with the Valdari. Dr. Murphy had established basic language lessons going both ways, while Dr. Torres was documenting amazing Valdari biotechnology that could help heal Earth's damaged environment. Lisa was reviewing the morning reports when alarms suddenly began, blaring throughout the Terra Nova. She rushed to the bridge, where Navigator Paul Kim was staring at his displays with wide eyes. Captain, we have a massive contact dropping out of hyperspace, Paul reported, his voice tense. It's big and it's coming in fast. Lisa looked at the main screen and felt her heart sink. A huge warship was materializing in space above the Valdari homeworld. It was 3 times the size of the Terra Nova, covered in weapon systems, and bristling with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. That's the USS Retribution, Commander Amy Phillips said quietly, recognizing the ship's design. It's a military dreadnought. What's it doing here? Before Lisa could answer, her communication system crackled to life. The face of Admiral Jack Morrison filled the screen, a hard-faced man with cold gray eyes and decades of combat experience written in the scars on his face. Captain Carter, this is Admiral Morrison assuming command of the alien contact operation under military directive. 7. Prepare to transfer all contact, protocols and alien intelligence to my staff, immediately. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest. Admiral, this is a peaceful diplomatic mission. We've established excellent relations with the Valdari. There's no need for military intervention. Morrison's expression didn't change. Captain, you're a civilian. You don't understand the security implications of alien contact. These beings have technology that could be used as weapons. Earth Command requires a position of strength in all negotiations, but they're completely peaceful, Lisa protested. They haven't shown any aggressive behavior at all. Their entire society is built around avoiding conflict. That's what they want you to think, Morrison replied coldly. I've seen this before during the corporate wars. Enemies always appear peaceful until they're ready to strike. I won't let Earth be caught defenseless. The connection ended and Lisa stood frozen on her bridge. Around her, the crew looked shocked and confused. They had spent weeks building trust with the Valdari, and now a warship had appeared without warning. Captain, Dr. Murphy called from his station, I'm receiving emergency transmissions from the Valdari city. Ambassador Zathara is requesting immediate contact with you. Lisa nodded grimly. Put it through. Zethara's image appeared on screen, but the graceful alien looked completely different than before. Gone was the calm, welcoming expression. Instead, Zethara's large eyes showed fear and confusion. "Captain Carter," Zethara said, the musical voice now strained with worry. "We detect a large war vessel above our world. Its weapons are active and its shields are raised. Are your people planning to attack us?" Lisa's heart broke at the fear in the alien's voice. "No, Ambassador. The military ship arrived without our knowledge. We are still committed to peaceful contact, but I'm no longer in command of the operation." "We do not understand," Zethara said. "Why would your war leaders send death ships to a meeting of friendship?" "We have shared our knowledge freely. We have opened our homes to you. What have we done wrong?" "You've done nothing wrong," Lisa assured the alien. "This is a mistake by our military. They're afraid of things they don't understand." But even as Lisa spoke, she could see Valdari ships in the distance beginning to move away from the contact zone. The beautiful floating city that had welcomed them so warmly was now showing signs of panic. Lights were flashing in what looked like warning patterns, and several of the graceful Valdari vessels were heading toward the outer edges of the system. Admiral Morrison's voice suddenly cut into their conversation. "Valdari vessel, this is Admiral Morrison of the Terran Space Navy. You will provide detailed technical specifications of your gravitational manipulation systems for security assessment. Failure to comply will be considered a hostile act." Zethara's expression shifted from fear to something that might have been sadness. "Admiral Morrison, we are a peaceful people. Our gravity technology is used only for building and transportation. We do not make weapons." "That technology could be turned into weapons," Morrison responded harshly. "We require full disclosure of your capabilities. We also need to inspect your military installations and defense systems." "We have no military installations," Zethara said, confusion clear in the alien's voice. "We have no defense systems. We have not fought wars for 2,000 years. We do not understand why you speak of weapons and death when we offer only friendship." Lisa watched in horror as the situation spiraled out of control. Morrison's demands made no sense. The Valdari clearly had no military technology at all. But the Admiral seemed to interpret their peaceful nature as evidence of deception. "Captain Carter," Morrison's voice came through a private channel. "Report to the Retribution immediately for briefing. Bring all records of alien contact and technology assessments." Lisa clenched her fists. "Admiral, the Valdari are not a threat. They're offering to help humanity solve our energy and environmental problems. We should be celebrating, not threatening them." "Captain, you've been compromised by alien influence," Morrison replied coldly. "Report to my ship within the hour, or I'll have you arrested for failure to follow military orders." Around the bridge of the Terra Nova, Lisa's crew watched in stunned silence. Dr. Murphy was monitoring Valdari communications, and his face grew more worried by the minute. "Captain," Dr. Murphy whispered, "the Valdari are calling for help from other colonies. They're preparing to evacuate their homeworld. They think we're planning to invade them." Lisa felt sick. 2 weeks of careful diplomacy and growing friendship were being destroyed in a matter of hours. The greatest opportunity in human history was slipping away because one man couldn't see past his own fear and paranoia. Commander Phillips approached her quietly. "Captain, what are your orders?" Lisa looked out at the beautiful alien world they had been so excited to explore. The floating cities that had seemed so magical now looked like they were preparing for siege. Ships were moving in evacuation patterns, and she could see defensive barriers being raised around the population centers. "Monitor all communications between Morrison's ship and the Valdari," Lisa ordered quietly. "Record everything. If this goes bad, I want proof of what really happened here." As the day wore on, the situation grew worse. Admiral Morrison deployed armed patrol drones around Valdari space, claiming they were protective measures. The Valdari, who had never seen military technology before, were terrified by the heavily armed machines flying near their homes. Zethara sent one final message to Lisa before the Valdari stopped all communications with humans. "Captain Carter, we had hoped your people were ready to join the community of peaceful worlds. We see now that we were wrong. We will remember that humans speak of friendship while pointing weapons at children." That night, Lisa sat alone in her quarters, staring out at the Valdari world. The beautiful lights of the floating city were dimmer now, and she could see evacuation ships moving in the darkness. In less than 24 hours, Admiral Morrison had turned humanity's greatest achievement into its greatest failure. She made a decision that would change everything. She would not let Morrison destroy this opportunity without a fight. Admiral Morrison wasted no time turning the peaceful contact mission into a military operation. Captain Lisa Carter watched from her bridge as the USS Retribution deployed combat patrols around Valdari space. The massive warship's weapons remained powered up, and its shields stayed active, sending a clear message of threat to the terrified aliens below. "This is completely unnecessary," Lisa muttered, studying the tactical display. The Valdari had made no aggressive moves at all, yet Morrison was treating them like dangerous enemies. Dr. Kevin Murphy looked up from his communication station with worried eyes. "Captain, I'm intercepting Valdari transmissions. They're calling this a sky death situation, apparently their term for when predators circle overhead. They're evacuating their children from the floating cities." Lisa felt sick. The Valdari were so peaceful they didn't even have words for military concepts. They were trying to understand human behavior using terms from their natural world, like animals fleeing from flying predators. Commander Amy Phillips returned to the bridge after attending Morrison's briefing. Her face was pale and tense. "Captain, the Admiral is demanding detailed scans of all Valdari technology. He wants to know how their gravity controls work, their energy systems, their ship designs, everything." "For what purpose?" Lisa asked, though she dreaded the answer. "He says any technology could potentially be weaponized," Amy replied. "He's convinced they're hiding military capabilities. When I suggested they might genuinely be peaceful, he accused me of being compromised by alien psychology." On the main screen, they could see Morrison's patrol drones moving closer to the Valdari cities. The small, heavily armed machines flew in aggressive patterns, scanning everything with high-powered sensors. To the Valdari, these drones must have looked like mechanical predators circling their homes. "Captain," Dr. Ben Torres called from his science station, "I'm detecting unusual readings from one of Morrison's drones. It's approaching a Valdari research vessel that seems to be having engine trouble." Lisa grabbed the communication controls. "Admiral Morrison, one of your patrol drones is approaching a disabled Valdari ship. They may need assistance, not surveillance." Morrison's cold voice crackled back immediately. "That vessel could be feigning distress to get close to our positions. The drone is investigating potential threats. They're civilians conducting scientific research," Lisa protested. "They've been nothing but helpful and peaceful." "Captain Carter, you will not question my tactical decisions," Morrison snapped. "Any alien vessel in our security perimeter is a potential threat until proven otherwise." Lisa watched helplessly as the patrol drone moved closer to the struggling Valdari ship. The alien vessel was clearly in distress. Its beautiful blue glow was flickering and it was drifting toward the planet's atmosphere. But instead of offering help, Morrison's drone treated it as a threat. Suddenly, alarms sounded across both human ships. The Valdari research vessel had accidentally drifted too close to the patrol drone, triggering its automated defense systems. Weapon ports opened on the small machine and warning lights began flashing. "Morrison, call off that drone," Lisa shouted into her communicator. "It's about to fire on a disabled civilian ship. The drone is following proper security protocols," Morrison replied calmly. "If the alien vessel maintains its current course, defensive measures will activate." Lisa could only watch in horror as energy beams lanced out from the patrol drone. The weapons were meant as warning shots, but they struck the Valdari ship's damaged hull. Atmosphere burst from the alien vessel as its outer walls were breached. Dr. Murphy was frantically monitoring Valdari emergency frequencies. "Captain, 3 Valdari are injured. Their ship is losing air fast. They're calling for rescue." Without hesitation, Lisa ordered her crew to launch a rescue shuttle. But Morrison's voice cut across their preparations. "All vessels will maintain position. No unauthorized contact with alien ships. Those people are dying," Lisa shouted back. "We caused this accident. We have to help them." "Any rescue attempt could be a trap," Morrison stated coldly. "The aliens will handle their own casualties." Lisa watched as Valdari rescue ships rushed to save their injured people. The graceful alien vessels moved carefully around Morrison's patrol drones, clearly afraid of triggering more attacks. When they finally reached the damaged research ship, she could see them desperately working to save their crew members. Ambassador Zethara's face appeared on the communication screen, But the beautiful alien looked completely different than before. Gone was the warm, welcoming expression. Instead, Zathara's large eyes showed pain and confusion that was painful to see. "Captain Carter," Zathara said, the musical voice now filled with sadness, "why did your war machines attack our research vessel? We were studying ocean currents to help with your environmental questions. We meant no harm." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. "Ambassador, it was an accident. Our military leader thought your ship was a threat. Please understand, not all humans support these actions." "We are trying to understand," Zathara replied. "But your Admiral Morrison demands we share technology while his weapons threaten our families. He speaks of peace while preparing for war. This is not the friendship we hope to build." Admiral Morrison's voice suddenly interrupted their conversation. "Valdari vessel, this incident proves your ships are a navigation hazard in human space. I'm establishing a safety perimeter around your world. All Valdari vessels will remain beyond this boundary until further notice." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. Morrison was essentially blockading the Valdari homeworld, trapping them on their own planet because of an accident he had caused. "Admiral, you can't blockade a peaceful world," Lisa protested. "This is completely against interstellar law." "There is no interstellar law, Captain," Morrison replied coldly. "There's only human security. These aliens will comply with our safety requirements or they'll be treated as hostile." Over the following days, the situation grew worse and worse. Morrison's safety perimeter prevented Valdari ships from traveling freely in their own space. Trade between their floating cities became difficult, and scientific expeditions were completely stopped. Dr. Murphy intercepted desperate Valdari communications, calling for help from other colonies. The messages described humans as aggressive invaders who spoke of peace while pointing weapons at civilians. Several alien vessels were already en route to evacuate Valdari refugees from what they now saw as a war zone. Lisa tried repeatedly to contact Earth Command directly, but found that Morrison had classified the entire operation under military jurisdiction. Her communications were monitored, her reports were censored, and her crew was forbidden from making unauthorized contact with the Valdari. Late one night, Dr. Torres approached Lisa privately in her quarters. "Captain, I've been secretly recording everything Morrison has done. His actions violate every principle of peaceful contact we've ever established." "Keep recording, Ben," Lisa whispered back. "If this gets worse, the truth needs to survive." As if her words had been prophetic, the next morning brought terrible news. Long-range sensors detected a fleet of Valdari ships approaching the system. But these weren't warships. They were large, slow-moving vessels with civilian markings. Morrison immediately went to red alert. "All vessels, battle stations. We have incoming alien ships of unknown intent." Lisa studied the sensor readings and felt her heart racing. "Admiral, those are evacuation ships. They're coming to rescue Valdari civilians because they think we're going to attack. Or they're bringing reinforcements," Morrison replied grimly. "Either way, they'll stop and submit to inspection or they'll be treated as hostile." Lisa realized with growing horror that Morrison was about to turn a rescue mission into a battle. The approaching Valdari ships had no idea they were flying into what the paranoid admiral saw as a military confrontation. "Admiral, please," Lisa begged over the communication channel. "Let me talk to them. Let me explain that this is all a misunderstanding." "The time for talk is over, Captain," Morrison said coldly. "These aliens need to learn that humans aren't weak. They need to understand that we won't be intimidated." As the Valdari evacuation fleet grew closer, Lisa made a desperate decision. She could not stand by and watch Morrison turn humanity's first contact into a massacre. She would have to act, regardless of the consequences. The tension in space above the Valdari homeworld had reached a breaking point. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, watching the approaching alien fleet with cold determination. His weapons were charged, his shields were up, and his finger hovered over the firing controls. Captain Lisa Carter could only watch from the Terra Nova as the tragedy unfolded. The approaching Valdari ships were clearly civilian vessels, large, slow-moving transports designed to carry families and elderly refugees. Their hulls gleamed with the same peaceful blue light as the floating cities below, and they moved in careful formation to avoid any appearance of aggression. "Admiral," Lisa pleaded over the communication channel, "those ships are carrying civilians. They're coming to evacuate their people because they're afraid of us. Please let me explain the situation to them." Morrison's reply was ice cold. Captain Carter, you are relieved of all communication duties. These alien vessels will stop and submit to inspection, or they will be fired upon. Dr. Kevin Murphy was frantically trying to translate the incoming Valdari transmissions. Captain, they're broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. They're asking permission to evacuate civilians from what they call the Sky Death Zone. They have no idea Morrison considers them a military threat. The lead Valdari ship was massive, nearly as large as Morrison's warship, but clearly built for transport rather than combat. Its hull was smooth and curved, with large viewing windows where Lisa could see hundreds of alien faces looking out at the human ships. They looked scared and confused, not threatening. Admiral Morrison, came a new voice over the communication system, musical and careful but different from Ambassador Zethara. This is Transport Captain Veltha of the Valdari Refugee Fleet. We come only to help our people leave this dangerous place. Please allow us to approach our homeworld. Morrison's response was immediate and harsh. Valdari vessels, you are entering a restricted military zone. Cut your engines and prepare for inspection. Any deviation from this order will be considered an act of war. Lisa watched in growing horror as the Valdari ships slowed, but did not stop completely. They were still drifting toward their homeworld, probably because their pilots didn't understand the translation properly, or couldn't stop their massive ships quickly enough. They're still moving, Morrison announced to his bridge crew. Weapon systems, prepare a warning shot across the lead vessel's bow. Admiral, no! Lisa screamed into her communicator. Their translation systems might be delayed. They might not understand what you want, but Morrison had already made his decision. Fire warning shot. A brilliant beam of plasma energy lanced out from the Retribution's main gun. The shot was meant to pass in front of the Valdari ship as a warning, but something went terribly wrong. The plasma beam struck the alien vessel's gravitational drive system, and the result was catastrophic. The Valdari ship's gravity control systems weren't designed to handle sudden energy surges. The plasma impact caused a cascade failure that spread throughout the vessel's power grid. Lisa watched in absolute horror as the massive transport ship simply came apart, its hull cracking along stress lines as artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Oh, God, Dr. Murphy whispered from his station. Captain, I'm reading over 300 life signs on that ship. There are children aboard. The destruction was complete within seconds. The beautiful blue glow of the Valdari ship flickered and died as the vessel broke into pieces. Escape pods began launching frantically from the dying ship, but many of them were caught in the gravitational anomalies and destroyed before they could get clear. The communication channels filled with panicked Valdari voices, not the musical tones of peaceful contact, but screams of terror and calls for help. The other ships in the refugee fleet immediately changed course, desperately trying to rescue survivors from the disaster. Lisa stared at the debris field in complete shock. In one moment of fear and aggression, Admiral Morrison had destroyed any possibility of peaceful relations between humans and the Valdari. He had turned a rescue mission into a massacre. Captain Carter, Morrison's voice came over the communication system, but now he sounded uncertain for the first time. The alien vessel suffered a catastrophic system failure. It was not my intention to destroy it. You fired on a civilian transport, Lisa shouted back, her voice breaking with emotion. There were families on that ship. Children, elderly refugees. You just committed mass murder. The other Valdari ships were now broadcasting on all frequencies, not to the humans, but to the wider galaxy. Dr. Murphy was translating their messages with tears in his eyes. Captain, they're sending out warnings to every civilization within 50 light years. They're telling everyone that humans are violent aggressors who attack without provocation. They're calling us a dangerous species that destroys peaceseekers. Ambassador Zethara's face appeared on the main screen one final time, but the graceful alien was transformed by grief and horror. The large, kind eyes that had once welcomed humans now looked at them with profound sadness and disappointment. Captain Carter, Zethara said, the musical voice now filled with pain, we offered your people friendship, knowledge, and a place among the peaceful worlds. You answered with weapons and death. We will not make this mistake again. Ambassador, please, Lisa begged. Not all humans support this madness. Admiral Morrison doesn't represent our entire species. Perhaps that is true, Zethara replied sadly. But it is Admiral Morrison who commands the weapons. It is Admiral Morrison who speaks for humanity in this place. We have learned what humans truly are. The Valdari evacuation fleet worked quickly to rescue survivors and then immediately jumped away from the system. Within hours, the beautiful floating cities were empty. The Valdari had abandoned their homeworld entirely, leaving behind only automated systems and the echoes of what could have been. Lisa could not bear to watch Morrison's victory any longer. She stormed off her bridge and marched directly to the Retribution's shuttle bay. If Admiral Morrison wanted to destroy humanity's future, she would not let him do it without consequences. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Hayes, Morrison's Marine commander, met her at the airlock. He was a career soldier, but his face showed the same horror that Lisa felt. "Colonel," Lisa said firmly, "I'm relieving Admiral Morrison of command. His actions constitute crimes against sentient beings and violations of interstellar law." Hayes looked torn between his duty and his conscience. "Captain, I've served with Morrison for 15 years. But what happened today? That wasn't defense. That was murder. Will you support me?" Lisa asked. Hayes nodded slowly. "Admiral Morrison has lost his judgment. Someone needs to stop him before he makes things worse." Together, they walked onto Morrison's bridge. The Admiral was standing at his command station, staring out at the empty Valdari homeworld. His face showed no emotion at all. "Admiral Morrison," Lisa announced loudly, "by the authority granted to me as senior diplomatic officer of this mission, I'm relieving you of command for actions detrimental to human interests and violations of peaceful contact protocols." Morrison turned slowly to face her. His cold gray eyes showed no remorse, no regret, only anger at being challenged. "Captain Carter, you have no authority here. This is a military operation under my command." "This was a diplomatic mission until you turned it into a massacre," Lisa replied. "Colonel Hayes, arrest this man." But before Hayes could move, half of Morrison's bridge crew had drawn their weapons. The other half moved to support Lisa. The bridge of the Retribution became a tense standoff between those who supported Morrison's aggressive approach and those who believed he had gone too far. "This is mutiny," Morrison said coldly. "Stand down immediately or I'll have you all court-martialed." Lisa looked around at the divided bridge crew, then out at the empty Valdari world floating in space. Humanity's greatest opportunity had been destroyed in a matter of hours. The galaxy now saw humans as dangerous aggressors rather than potential partners. The damage was done, and nothing could bring back the 300 innocent lives that Morrison had destroyed with his fear and paranoia. 6 months later, Captain Lisa Carter sat in a military courtroom on Earth, watching Admiral Jack Morrison face judgment for his actions. The evidence was overwhelming. Video recordings, communication logs, and testimony from dozens of witnesses all painted the same picture. Morrison had turned humanity's first peaceful contact into a tragedy that would be remembered for generations. The judge, Admiral Sarah Rodriguez, read the charges with a heavy voice. "Admiral Morrison, you are found guilty of unauthorized use of military force against civilians, violation of interstellar contact protocols, and actions detrimental to human diplomatic interests. You are hereby stripped of rank and sentenced to life imprisonment." Morrison showed no emotion as the sentence was read. Even now, 6 months after the disaster, he maintained that his actions had been necessary for human security. He truly believed that destroying a ship full of refugees had somehow protected Earth. Lisa felt no satisfaction in his punishment. 300 innocent Valdari were still dead, and their deaths had poisoned humanity's relationship with the entire galaxy. Morrison's fear and aggression had cost her species their future among the stars. After the trial, Lisa was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Diplomatic Contact Division. Her first mission was to try to repair the damage Morrison had caused, but the task seemed impossible. The Valdari had disappeared completely, and every attempt to locate them had failed. Dr. Kevin Murphy, now serving as Earth's chief xenolinguist, had spent months analyzing the final Valdari broadcasts. "Captain, I mean Admiral," he said, still adjusting to her new rank. "They sent detailed records of our contact to 42 different civilizations. Every species within 50 light-years now knows what happened here. The galactic response had been swift and severe. Trade routes that humans had hoped to access were permanently closed. Scientific exchanges that could have advanced human technology by centuries were canceled. Worst of all, Humanity found itself completely quarantined, marked as a dangerous species that solved problems with violence. The Zentari Confederation sent a formal message last week, Dr. Murphy continued. They called humans Morrison class, aggressors, species that destroy peace through unnecessary force. That term is now being used throughout known space to describe violent, unpredictable civilizations. Lisa stared out the window of her new office at Earth Command. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, but she knew that down below, environmental problems continued to worsen. The clean energy technology that the Valdari had offered could have solved Earth's climate crisis. Instead, her world was still burning fossil fuels and poisoning its atmosphere. Commander Amy Phillips, now serving as Lisa's second-in-command, entered with another stack of reports. Admiral, we've received responses from 14 more species declining contact with humanity. They all cite the Valdari incident as proof that humans are too dangerous for peaceful relations. Any good news at all? Lisa asked wearily. Amy hesitated. Actually, yes. Dr. Torres thinks he's found something. Dr. Ben Torres had spent the last 6 months leading a small fleet of unarmed research vessels in a desperate search for Valdari refugees. His ships carried medical supplies, environmental, restoration equipment, and messages of apology from Earth. Most importantly, they carried no weapons at all. Torres entered Lisa's office with tired but hopeful eyes. Admiral, we found them. After months of searching the outer rim systems, we finally made contact with a Valdari colony. Lisa felt her heart race. Are they willing to talk to us? Some of them are, Torres replied carefully. The colony is led by survivors from the transport ship Morrison destroyed. They've built a small settlement on an asteroid mining station, far from any major space routes. They're traumatized. Many of them still have nightmares about human warships. Lisa closed her eyes, imagining the fear and pain that Morrison's actions had caused. But they're willing to listen? Ambassador Zethara is there, Torres said quietly. When our ships approached with no weapons and medical supplies, she agreed to meet with us. She's different than before. The joy is gone from her voice. But she hasn't given up on the possibility that some humans might be different from Admiral Morrison. Lisa made an immediate decision. Prepare the Terra Nova for departure. We're going to see them. 2 weeks later, Lisa found herself back on the bridge of her old exploration ship, approaching the Valdari refugee colony. The asteroid mining station looked nothing like the beautiful floating cities they had first encountered. This was a place built by desperate people who had lost everything. Ambassador Zethara met them at the docking bay, but Lisa barely recognized the graceful being she had first encountered. The Valdari's blue skin seemed dimmer, and the 6 elegant arms moved with careful, guarded motions. The large eyes that had once been so full of wonder now held deep sadness. Captain Carter, Zethara said. She still used Lisa's old rank, as if refusing to acknowledge the military hierarchy that had caused so much pain. You come without weapons this time. Yes, Lisa replied simply. We come to help, not to harm. We bring medical supplies for your injured and equipment to help build your new colony. We ask for nothing in return except the chance to prove that not all humans are like Admiral Morrison. Zethara studied her for a long moment. Many of my people believe all humans are dangerous. The images of your warship destroying our transport ship still haunt our sleep. Why should we trust you? Lisa had prepared for this question, but when the moment came, she found herself speaking from the heart instead of giving a diplomatic answer. Because 300 of your people died because of human fear and stupidity. Because we destroyed the greatest opportunity our species ever had. Because I can't live with the knowledge that we might have been friends if we hadn't let fear make our choices for us. Over the following weeks, Lisa and her crew worked alongside the Valdari refugees to build better living conditions on the asteroid station. The humans shared their construction techniques, while the Valdari taught them about sustainable life support systems. It was slow, difficult work, building trust one conversation at a time. Dr. Murphy established new language lessons, but this time the focus was on understanding rather than just communication. He learned that the Valdari had developed an entire new section of their language to describe human behavior, words for speaking peace while preparing war, and destroying friendship through fear. They've also created a new word, Dr. Murphy told Lisa one evening. It translates roughly to cartering, the act of trying to fix damage caused by unnecessary aggression. It's actually considered a hopeful concept in their language now. Progress was slow, but it was real. Some of the younger Valdari began to trust the humans, especially after Lisa's medical team successfully treated several refugees who had been injured during the evacuation. Dr. Torres shared environmental restoration techniques that helped the Valdari create small gardens in their asteroid habitat. Ambassador Zethara remained cautious, but Lisa could see the graceful being slowly beginning to heal. The musical quality returned to her voice when she spoke about science and art. The elegant movements became less guarded when she was teaching human children about Valdari culture. One day, Zethara approached Lisa with a small device in her hands. It glowed with the same beautiful blue light as Valdari technology, but it was clearly designed for humans to use. "This is a communication beacon," Zethara explained. "It can send messages faster than your radio systems across many light years instantly. We give it to you not as proof of trust, but as proof of hope." Lisa accepted the device with trembling hands. What kind of hope? The hope that someday, when humans have learned to choose understanding over fear, we might try again to be friends. Zethara replied. The hope that Admiral Morrison's way is not the only human way. Lisa activated the beacon and sent her first message toward Earth. It was simple, but it carried the weight of humanity's future. Contact re-established with Valdari refugees. Relationship damaged but not impossible to repair. Recommend immediate implementation of civilian-led contact protocols for all future alien encounters. Military force must serve diplomacy. Never replace it. The response from Earth came back within hours. Approved. New contact protocols approved by Global Council. Admiral Carter granted authority to establish Peaceful Contact Division with full civilian leadership. No military intervention in diplomatic operations without civilian approval. As Lisa read the message, she felt something she hadn't experienced since Morrison's warship had first appeared. Hope for humanity's future among the stars. It would take time, perhaps generations, to repair the damage that fear and aggression had caused. But the work had begun. Ambassador Zethara stood beside her, looking out at the stars through the asteroid station's observation window. Your people are capable of both great destruction and great kindness, the Valdari said softly. The choice of which path to follow will always be yours. Lisa nodded, understanding the profound responsibility that rested on humanity's shoulders. They had been given a second chance, not by right, but through the incredible forgiveness of beings they had wronged. We'll try to do better, Lisa promised.